And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So, Zach, if you want to start off with this next segment of the video.
Well, what I had in mind was to talk specifically about these jobs for hire. Now, what I have in mind are two separate, and I know I've used the word categories a couple of times in these videos, but you have to bear with me here. So I have two fundamental categories. Let's write them right there.
I think we lost somebody.
No, they don't mute it for just a second.
Yeah, somebody muted, but that's okay.
Sorry.
So we have open, and I know if one should be open, the other should be closed. But what I've written, and Gav, you're welcome to berate me for this if you like, is limited. As I realize I can't spell
for a start. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get to make fun of my naming anymore, Zach.
I know. But you're going to see why, because really what these both relate to is time frame. And limited and unlimited sounded so much alike that I needed something that actually sounded different, so I didn't get myself screwed up. The idea is, and let's just start with open. So I'll just kind of go back here, and so open quests. What are these? Basically, players will never be able to make these. These are specifically NPC-only quests, and here's why. These are always available within a certain time span.
Doesn't that contradict?
Hang on. I know. Bear with me.
A certain.
Oh, God. Yeah, sorry, I was certain...
That's Nelson's fault.
Time spent. Yeah, my brain literally skipped like a record. That was great. All right, so
about the questing equivalent of fruit picking jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So NPC X needs item Y, and every person who takes that item to him can receive money for it as long as this job is open, which will be like for the next 24 hours, counting down. So you can take a look at it, you can say, oh, well, that job's got another 10 minutes left before it closes. That's plenty of time for me to go get some of these and turn them in for some quick cash, and there you go. These are very, very simple quests. The idea is just to have something very simple and very generic that is kind of always there for the taking.
You mean it doesn't become non-available if another person takes it?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So, anyone can complete.
Well, the classic case in D&D style games is always, early on in the game you come to a farmhouse and the farmer will give you some food if you clear the wolves out of his farmlands. Those quests, everyone who goes past, there's going to be dozens and dozens of wolves. Just if you can kill enough of them to complete the quest.
Sure.
That's what I meant by the fruit picking.
Or like the WoW players out there might have bumped into the Nether Drake quests, where you can go turn in like the Nether Drake eggs. Now that's always open 24/7. It never stops. You can always
Such an addicting.
Yep, it's an addicting activity.
Yes, it is.
But imagine if that quest was basically posted for say 72 hours, and during that 72-hour window, you can take as many of those eggs in as you like and get money in exchange for them, or whatever. Even build up your reputation score, etc. But then once that 72-hour window is closed, the quest is over. You can't turn any more in. So it was just, like I said, a very, very simple idea based in just getting some generic quests out there that people can do that are fairly simple, that can be repeated over and over. Just a way to boost the economy in a fast manner. So does this make sense so far? Okay. Now this brings us over to limited, which is far more complicated. Limited quests or missions, these are time sensitive. So it's not like there's just an open window. It's just when somebody accepts a quest, they have X amount of time to actually get it done. The idea for these is that these are going to be more competitive. And I have kind of a critical question that I want to throw out there. I guess I'll get to that here in just a second. I'm really thinking that these will be the basis for a player-based work economy.
Are these also going to, if another player finishes it before you, does it invalidate the quest?
That's kind of along the lines of the question I wanted to ask.
Oh.
Because you could handle this in a couple of different ways. You could say, just in terms of overall, I'll say availability, but I should actually be using finger quotes for that, I think. That once accepted, it's locked out for anyone else. Until, they either run out of time or accept the quest. Or...
I don't like that as much as the second option. No, you're right.
And this is... as many as possible can join the quest.
Yeah, I like that.
First to complete gets it.
It depends on the sort of the degree of individuality of the quest. I mean, if you got the once accepted, it locks out option, but there are dozens of similar quests available in the area from other people, then I think that is an acceptable way to do it. But I can kind of see why, because the thing is, it depends entirely on the number of people around. I mean, there's nothing worse than having to wait for someone you don't know who lives in a different country. There's a lot of that in some games where you're queuing up to finish a quest.
Well, you
have to wait for somebody to kill the ghost that gets summoned by the thing, and then the next person who was there, you have to wait for them to re-summon the thing and kill it again, and then you get to have a go at summoning it and killing it. And
I think there could be room for both kinds or both instances, though. For example, the second option would be valid for collection quests. Mm-hmm. Whoever returns enough items, and maybe each quest only has a subset of the items, so maybe 5 people can complete this quest before it locks out. But I think that makes sense for things like collection. The once accepted locks out thing, I think that makes more sense for a more mission-oriented thing, like...
Oh yeah, deliver this package.
Yeah, deliver this package, or that you have to pick up and it's only one package, or go hack into this company and here are all the access codes to get through the door, and blah, blah, blah.
I don't see why you couldn't have any number of people accept that. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense with delivering a package because you only have one package. NATO, you were about to say something, and I didn't mean to trail on your toes. Go ahead, man.
What I was going to say is, it depends on the context, and you can also have win-loss conditions. Mm-hmm. For example, I am out of beer, go get me some more beer. First person to return it gets the win condition of 20 credits or whatever. The second person gets the lose condition of, 5 credits. Because the pub will always need more beer.
That's right, and I have actually said that before, and you may have been involved in that conversation, Nato. Absolutely, if someone goes out and brings back what you need, you haven't got it yet, you pay that premium. But then after that, I know I'm going to need more of it, but I'm just going to pay you the cheap price now.
It's just like in X.
What's that, Nelson?
It's just like in X3 where you get a quest that says you go to a station and they're like, we need more energy cells. So if you return with this amount of energy cells within this amount of time, then we'll give you a premium on that. But if you fall outside of that window, they'll still, you'll still be able to sell your energy cells to them, but it might not even be at a profit to you.
Right.
Right. So in the end, it becomes kind of supply and demand driven.
Right.
But in the case of an assassination or something like that, you get into an issue of logic versus gameplay mechanics in terms of, okay, logically you can only get logically once that person's dead, all of the other quests, all of the other people with that quest can no longer complete it, and thus the quest is invalid and it's failed. But how frequently will people be offering? How frequently will that sort of quest come up? This is the thing. I mean, on a player,
that's one of those things. It is a little hard to say, but I imagine if you give people the ability to kill anybody else via a quest, you'll see plenty of it.
If it's a player generated thing, then that's one thing. But I don't know.
Well, this is where you run into.
I think there needs to be certain flags on certain quests. This is one of the things I wanted to get into about the persistent world, but that's another matter. There needs to be certain flags of quest certain flags on quests for plot. I.e., if it is something that advances the plot and or is a end game content mechanic, it needs to have no lockout on it at all.
Sure, I'm totally fine with that.
Which goes back to where we were discussing story-based quest.
Okay,
Well, I suppose this is where the question of instancing comes up, because that's the other solution to it. You've got.
Oh, yeah,
I'm like that with but I've seen it done in games because it's a plot-based thing. Everyone's got to get to kill the boss at the end of it.
There's an idea I came up with for basically grouping. Let's say you have one of these. You have a quest which a first to complete quest. You set it up so that the first 50 people that accept the quest are put into a group together, and it's the first person out of that 50 gets the win condition. The rest get the lose condition, which might be nothing. It might be something. Then the 51st person to the 100th person are in a completely separate group, and it makes it accessible to a wider range and allows more people to get the win condition. But it all depends on how many players you've got. If you've got 49 players, then you don't need more than one group.
I see where that you're saying with that, but as far as and I'm still kind of thinking about collection quest, or not collection quest, but buying items for a thing or an NPC that needs it. That's sort of, I'm thinking about those quests just kind of appearing and then disappearing. I'm not thinking about those quests just sitting around the job board forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. There's a job. There is a flow of jobs that. Well, yeah. Let me say that again. There should be a natural flow of jobs at a certain type like that, which are available all the time, which are sort of collecting jobs, sending packages.
But they change all the time, though.
They change all the time, but there is always a sort of baseline level of work that is churning over in the persistent world.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of balance of making sure that there's enough stuff to do.
Yeah. But then when something like you could have a timed event of if there are enough people with enough reputation for a particular group, that group will spawn a quest which is go kill this other gang leader, and it is a once-time accepted thing. So whoever manages to kill that gang leader gets massive reputation. Blah 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 blah. There's only one person who can complete it because it only makes sense. I can't see an example of a once accepted locks out. Once completed locks out makes sense, but I can't see an example.
Well, like what they said, delivery stuff. Once you accept it, once you pick up that item,
yeah, true.
Nobody else.
There's a limit. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
Because there's only the one package to hand out anyway.
Yeah, you did say that before. Sorry.
So we can just make this dependent on quest type.
I think if we've got, certainly in terms of the sort of side quests, the once accepted locks out works well because I'm envisaging that there will be millions of these quests available.
Mm-hmm.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you ask.
Yeah, but at the same time, you gotta, if you think about it,
what I'm saying there is because of what it comes down to. If there are a large number of similar types of quest in an area, then once accepted locks out works very well because it doesn't matter, and maybe it can be cyclical on a time basis. Maybe it resets every day, but
these are your days.
But because there are a large number of similar quests around, you haven't got to, it's not. You're not excluding people from a key thing. Whereas, like I say, if it's the big boss battle at the end of the introductory plot, everyone's going to want to play that. That's you need to. Everyone has to get the opportunity to do it, really, for it. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
Those bigger, more central quests are the ones that are problematic. Generally speaking, if there are enough quests available.
I was just saying, I can't see any reason to lock out quests that are story driven at all. Now, if there are NPC quests that are like this, like, go kill this person that suddenly pop up, I don't know. Here's the fundamental question that comes to mind when I look at this model. I mean, if you're not actually dealing with a finite object that is part of the mission, such as a package that needs to be delivered, etc., maybe it is just killing somebody, then it becomes a question of who you're trying to appease. If you're trying to appease the actual person completing the mission, then by all means, lock out everybody else once somebody goes in and accepts that quest, because now there's suddenly less competition. There's no rush. You've got the time limit that you've got to complete the quest in, but you know that because you're the one who accepted it, it's like you made it into the room and you closed the door behind you and you locked it, and now you can do exactly what you need. However, if you leave it to as many people as possible to join into that quest, you've now got to think about everybody else who could be on that quest. You might take this mission to go kill this person, and you're pretty good at PvP, but then as soon as you do, PvP Lord 9000 joins into the quest, and you know that they're just like a walking blender slaughterhouse on wheels.
Fine, I won't play then.
Exactly, and so you're good. It puts an air of competition into the game.
Yeah,
that can be good or that can be bad, but at the same time, again, it comes back to the question of who you're trying to appease. If you're a player who actually put that quest out there, you shouldn't care about that. You want to see the job get done as quickly and efficiently as possible. You want players to be clamoring to get it done and racing each other and tripping each other up and just running like mad for the finish line to get your quest done, because that leads to a faster result for you. So are you trying to appease the person doing the quest or the person who has actually created the quest? And both of these people are players in this particular aspect of the vision. So it's not like you're trying to appease a computer or the player. I mean, I want players to be making a lot of these quests too.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying there.
Silence. Okay.
So perhaps it's the kind of thing where when you create the quest, you can specify: is this the kind of thing that you're only going to accept, first come, first serve, and everybody else locks out? Or is it just first person to complete it? And that may be something that you just tie into the interface for a quest generation in the first place, and we don't worry about it right this minute.
And this
seem to have.
Oh, go ahead, Nato. No, go ahead.
Seem to have three. I know there's lots of categories of quests so far, but there seems to be, in my mind, three that seem to have developed, which are player-created ones, which we've already talked about, the plot, which is entirely separate arc, and then the churn. Of sure. The background stuff.
Yeah.
And we need... they need to be handled in different ways, but you kind of already knew that, so sure.
Okay.
All right, Nato.
Way to go.
And with that, that's a perfect place for us to bring this video to a close, and we'll just pick it right back up in the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.